You're listening to Canary Cry Radio episode number 191. We have a wonderful conversation with Patrick Holland of the Missouri Freedom Initiative. Make sure to check out canarycrynewstalk.com, where we're breaking down news multiple times a week through the lens of scripture. And remember, this podcast is value for value. No advertisements, affiliate codes, no sponsorships. Go to canarycry.support to learn more. But without further ado, let's jump into our conversation with Patrick Holland.
Patrick Holland from the Freedom Missouri Initiative, friend of the show, and we're so happy to have you back, buddy. How are you today?
Hey, Baz, doing great, loving the new eyes. You know, you're
Thank you.
upstaging Gons with those eyes. His eyes aren't nearly as large as yours.
I've seen that's you get it. That's been the strategy this whole time. It's the only way that I can get something over this guy.
I still think that you're appealing to Europa, the goddess of Europe. If you see some of the old Sumerian
Goddess of Europe
statues, they got the big old eyes.
Plus, he'll pay a lot more for contact lenses than the average person.
That's true. I just use sort of crystal dinner plates for contact lenses. All right, good start, everybody. Good start. Let's make sure. I mean, Gonza's theories on, actually, the world's theories on googly eyes will all make sense someday. Just like all of the, conspiracy theories or truth seeking or all the things we were told to ignore, not believe in. It's just a matter of time before it all makes sense in sort of broad mainstream way. And those who have theories about the googly eyes will also be vindicated. Speaking of vindication, Patrick Holland from the Freedom Missouri Initiative, last time we spoke with you, you were giving us the lowdown on the Missouri's, what is it called?
Constitutional Money Act.
Constitutional Money Act. I can't believe it's been so long, but I figured it's a good idea to get a little update because, of course, speaking of vindication or I guess just current events, silver, gold, at least in the context of price action and chaos and people, betting their life on silver and gold. Finally, silver and gold gets the attention it deserves. But we have not heard back from you since we last were getting the lowdown on the Constitutional Money Act. So I thought it'd be a good idea. Do we have any updates? Is all of this madness because of the Constitutional Money Act?
I don't know. But the Constitutional Money Act has actually gone through a transition from a bill into a law in the state of Missouri. In fact, we actually got to go to the governor's signing, and because the bill sponsors, that'd be Senator Mike Moon, who I believe you both know, he was on the Senate side. He's one of the heroes of our story. So is someone you guys may know by the name of Sir Ike.
Sir Ike.
Sir Ike runs with the initiative up at the Capitol. He was very much involved in getting silver and gold across the finish line in the state of Missouri.
Incredible.
Wow.
So there are others too. But it's an exciting thing because what we got done in Missouri is actually never, ever been done anywhere in the world before. So I'm going to start with this. And by the way, we're going to talk about the Second Amendment Preservation Act, what we're working on right now. But this is really exciting stuff, what we got done with the Constitutional Money Act. Are you familiar with the term alloidial title?
Alloidial title. It feels good coming off the tongue, but I can't say that I could give you a definition.
It's a common law term, and it's about private property rights. And in the state of Missouri, silver and gold now enjoy private property rights. They cannot be confiscated in the state of Missouri.
Oh.
There's laws against it. That was actually built into the Constitutional Money Act, which no other state has ever done before. We also got legal tender status for gold and silver, so we can use gold and silver as money now in the state of Missouri. It is optional. It's not mandatory.
Yeah.
But what is mandatory is that the government now must take electronic transfers of silver and gold if offered by the taxpayer to pay for taxes. Now,
incredible.
Now, that's not the first thing you should do. You shouldn't run up, to the tax man, with your silver and gold and pay your taxes. You get rid of those filthy fiat dollars first, obviously.
Yeah, right.
And hold on to that gold and silver as long as you can, because word on the street is it's going up in value. But actually, it's not going up in value. The dollar is going down in value.
Right.
And so subsequently, silver and gold are enjoying this, I don't know if you want to call it a treacherous ride to the bottom that the dollar is doing. And the only reason the dollar is the shiniest turd in the box right now is because it is falling less fast than all the other currencies of the world. So, and I know you guys know this, but that's an important point. Basically the reason silver and gold is going up everywhere in the world is because the world reserve currency is not worth as much as it was before, the dollar.
Right.
So we did get legal tender status. We got rid of capital gains taxes in the state of Missouri on silver and gold. Of course, we'd have to for legal tender status. But we got a few other things too. We have anti-discriminatory language in this bill. So basically the state cannot discriminate against silver and gold, by saying, well, if you pay your taxes in dollars, we'll take it for what your tax bill is. If you want to pay in silver and gold, we need an extra 2%. Like many would say if you do a credit card transaction. So no discrimination against using silver and gold as money in Missouri. Another first. No state has ever done anything like this before. Also, we got a provision put in this bill so that businesses, not only can they accept silver and gold for goods and services, but they can pay employees if both parties are agreeable in silver and gold.
Wow.
And so no other state has actually gotten this done before either. So actually what we got done in the state of Missouri is the envy of the entire world, not just the other states, but the entire world. Not even the United Emirates literally has permissible laws as the state of Missouri does for silver and gold. At this point in time, we're the top of the heap.
It feels kind of unreal. It feels unreal, man.
Yep. And that's because of a relentless group called the Missouri Freedom Initiative, who I have the honor to organize, but I am certainly not the leader of the group. Everyone who goes up to the Capitol and works on behalf of the bills that we represent, that we support, are the leaders. I just organize the leaders. That's all I do. And Sir Ike is among them. In fact, he's one of the people I call the inner circle of the initiative. Yeah.
Sir Ike's really in a lot of inner circles. He's a real inner circle kind of guy.
Yep, he is. So we need to keep an eye on him and make sure that he's not, dealing with the Mossad or anything else. I'm teasing.
This could be tempting. Could be tempting.
Yep. So he worked hard, and my goodness, he was the very first person to actually enjoy a legal gold-backed transaction in the state of Missouri.
The first one, you say?
The very first business to accept goldbacks for products that he sells. That was Sir Ike right here in Missouri. The very first one to do it legally after the bill was signed by the governor in the state of Missouri.
That's incredible. I did not know that. He's very humble. He did not tell me that was the case. I mean, it's, again, like I said, it feels unreal. I think also the timing feels, if not, you could use plenty of words, but it seems like God has certainly had a hand in a lot of stuff going on, of course, in the world, in all industries and categories. But regarding gold and silver specifically, which of course is not just about gold and silver, it's not just about commodity, it's not just about fiat dollars. All the way down to all the business going on with the Fed right now, it's hard to not feel like there is some serious historical inflection point happening, and the fact that Missouri is once in the world, situation that pulled this across the finish line. It kind of feels unbelievable. It almost feels like, I don't know. I feel lightheaded thinking about it. Now, what has been, if there has been any serious, I don't know, ramifications, or has there been a serious shift in how business is done in Missouri? Is this something that I guess like so many constitutional things, it just kind of becomes part of the water that the fish are swimming in. Anything notable like that?
Not as such yet. However, I did start working on silver and gold seminars to train businesses and merchants on how to work with gold backs, how to work with silver and gold coins if they wanted to take it that way as well. Plus also the electronic versions of gold and silver that are tied to physical gold and silver. And unfortunately, I just ran out of time last year to actually continue on with those seminars when we started our new legislative session, plus other things, going on in my life at the same time. I can only juggle so many things. And I have a regular job. So I'm an IT consultant, by the way. So you guys, some folks may be watching this going, who is this guy? Is he an elected official or no? I'm just a regular citizen. I have my own business. I do IT consulting. I specialize in law enforcement. And but I also go up to the Capitol. I also write legislation and try to get good things done in my state, and we do so without taking donation at all. Everyone in the initiative is on their own time and on their own dime, and the reason for that is so that we cannot be influenced by anyone else. Right. It's just what we want, not what benefactors want. And so we run it very differently than most organizations run.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, especially nowadays, it's so easy to be skeptical of anyone who is putting their time towards making a change in the world like this. I mean, unfortunately, we've seen so many examples of on both sides, whether they are activists or doing some sort of local politics, or we had a great conversation with you a couple of appearances ago about getting involved in local politics and just the civic duty that people have. And I would say it's probably for the best that everybody is and should be very skeptical of anyone, participating in some sort of activism or legislation or something, because if we're not skeptical of that, then it's just too easy for special interests and weird money and even, whatever, just more subtle types of influence. It's almost guaranteed you've got such a target on your back. So
you
really staying above reproach like that.
Yeah, to your point, actually, and when you don't take money, and we call ourselves the Missouri Freedom Initiative, we don't even have a name registered with the state. It's just 3 words out of the dictionary. We created a logo, and we make flyers and communiques and electronic communiques with the logo. However, I don't escape scrutiny from this government here in the state of Missouri, and we're regularly investigated. To see if whether or not they can label us as lobbyists. And so, the last time that happened was in 2024. So I had to shut down operations for the initiative for about 3 days while they were, trying to figure out whether or not we were making money somehow. That's just a trick they use. But we are not lobbyists. We never have been. We never will be. We're not paid to be at the Capitol. There's no money for doing any of this. So that is literally the way we're going to stay forever. And the guy that I started this organization with, his name was Jim Wendell, unfortunately passed away in 2022. And originally we had ideas of ways to make money that were outside of the organization to pay for the gas to go to and from the Capitol, which can be expensive, depending on where you live. But when Jim passed away, it took about 6 months, and I was like, no, we're not going to do that. We're just your own time, your own dime. Because once again, we're always being investigated by our state legislature because they don't understand how it is. Folks would literally spend as much time as we do and as much money as we do with gasoline and time, skipping days of work to go to the Capitol during weekdays because they're not there weekends, right? That how it is that we would actually even want to do this if we're not getting paid. They just find us an anomaly because there's no other grass action activists like us in the state of Missouri. And if you want to go a bit further, in 2023, I was writing legislation, silver and gold legislation for 17 states, not just Missouri, but 17 states total. So Missouri plus 16. And I was talking to these legislatures, basically as we're fine tuning legislation, and it's very boring stuff. I don't want to get into writing of legislation.
Right.
It's the questions I would ask these guys. Do you guys have, a regular, activist groups coming up that aren't lobbyists? No, not at all. Ever. Well, the pro-lifers, but they're lobbyists. They have, bank accounts, they take donations. And I said, no. I said, non-paid. And every single one of them would say, no, we have nothing like that. We're talking 16 other states, gang. 16 other states I talked to, and they have nothing like us. Maybe that's why Missouri's getting such amazing, incredible things done, is because there's a group of people that care enough about their state to use their own time and their own dime to make plenty of appearances during the legislative session. We have the third longest state legislative session in the country. Missouri does. It's 5 months long. I think California's is longer than ours, but I think that's it. California and one other state. But yes, we show up. That's the difference between us and the others. We show up all the time. And also there is no benefactor involved here. There's no money coming in. There's no donation button on the website. There's just nothing. Yeah. And they just really can't wrap their brains around that sometimes, I think, up there in the legislature.
I mean, it's an amazing sort of story of Americana. I mean, only in America could something like this happen. And it's not only is it sort of feel good and impressive, but it kind of creates a yearning for more of this. I mean, we know deep down that that's like the spirit of American government. And yet the system is such that it's almost unthinkable that, anybody else would be doing it. I mean, it's you're surprising the socks off of the people in your own legislature that it's even possible in sort of a practical way, when we all kind of have the idea that like it's almost like this American heroism, I guess. So really, really just amazed. I mean, of course, appreciative and impressed, but really just amazed at what you guys are doing there. And the fact that you got the Constitutional Money Act, which it's just unfortunate that it's so unthinkable. And the fact that it's the only place in the world that's been able to do it. I don't know. My mind is just blown. But considering the current state of affairs today, it seems like God has seriously had his hand on the Freedom of Missouri initiative and everything you guys have been doing, man.
Honestly, though, I was powered by a Canary Cry t-shirt. So, there was other forces at work here, and I think you may know what I'm talking about.
You sent us this picture. Is it okay if we show this picture, or is
Absolutely,
this a private picture? Okay. We got this great picture here. We may have shown this on the show a while back, but you'll notice this is at the moment that the bill was being signed into law, correct?
That is correct.
And we got you there, Patrick, there, looking snazzy with your snazzy looking vest and tie, some sort of black shirt underneath that. Who knows? But we've got
underneath the black shirt is where the Canary Cry shirt was, and there's evidence of that. There's another picture.
I was
right
just
before we went into the signing.
That one. Where did I put that one? Oops, that's not it. That's gold backs. Okay, we got pictures of gold backs.
Excuse me, sorry.
Oh, that's you? I was.
Yeah, let me turn off my phone. It's hooked into my audio board. Sorry about that,
worries.
Guys.
Maybe Gons has the other one with all the T-shirts on it. But there you go. I mean, right there in the room while the bill is being signed, multiple Canary Cry News Talk T-shirts. I'm very proud to see that. Very proud to see that. So
you guys were there. You were there the whole time.
It's funny. It's just occurring to me now. Of course, Canary Cry Radio, we don't do as many interviews as we would like to do, but we've been, working hard to get more out, in recent years. Gold has been, I'm just realizing now, the overwhelming theme of Canary Cry Radio interviews for the past maybe year. Because, of course, we had the Goldback guys and another gal from the Goldbacks and you. And so, I don't know. God's in control. We're just bumbling along here, but very impressive.
Yeah, Missouri is a very special place in that way. And in fact, guys, I'm about to tell you something that's going to surprise you just a little bit. I hail from Minnesota. I came from Minnesota. When my wife and I got married, which was about 30 years ago, we moved down to Missouri to get away from the high taxes, a few other political, things that were going on in Minnesota at the time, which were very slight at the time. There we go. You found it. All right, there it is.
There it is.
Yep.
Like
that is
Superman.
That is not AI. That's actually a real picture that was taken. I can't remember if it was right before or right in fact, I think it was right after we were signed by the governor.
Incredible.
And so at any rate, yeah, that was on the whole time. Well, you guys were there. You guys saw the whole thing.
I'm just so flattered that we have such amazing people who produce and listen and are active with the show. That is just amazing. Fills me with pride, Patrick.
There you go, man.
Now, is there any other details about the Constitutional Money Act that we should know? Any updates, or because you guys are getting busy working on some other stuff over there in Missouri as well?
We are. The Silver and Gold seminars, I will start them again in the spring. So not too long from now, we'll start those again in the state of Missouri. And at that point, we'll probably, give you guys an update on how things are going. Business adoption rates with Goldbacks with the seminar has been quite high, but you can only do so many seminars, basically. And once again, there's no payment for those. So, you try to keep it down to about 2 seminars a month. Mm-hmm. And, basically just go out and educate people on how these things work. And we had great partners, Citizens for Sound Money, Daniel Diaz, Benjamin Schaefer came by to help. Phil Eborn from Goldbacks actually was part of our seminar. So he was right here in Missouri working with us.
Oh, great.
And then we had Gary Barnsdorf from Alpine Gold actually coming in and helping out with that as well on the UPMA, explaining how bullion banks, service providers like UPMA, Alpine Gold, Kinesis, Glint, and others operate, basically so Missouri can start getting used to the idea of this. And once again, this wasn't so long ago. We had gold and silver in our money. And but reminding people about that, basically, a lot of folks are, I just don't understand how it would work. I want to make a purchase on eBay. How do I get this silver coin to eBay? You don't. You do it electronically.
Right.
And you're still working with physical, even though you're doing electronic with the bullion banks that I mentioned, the service providers.
Yes.
So you can have accounts with them and make it work. And also Goldbacks can be transferred electronically as well through UPMA and Alpine. So, there's just a whole host of wonderful solutions to use gold and silver the same way we use the dollar right now, from electronic to coins and bills and everything in between.
Crazy.
So it's all there, folks, and the free market has the solutions. One thing you should know about our bill, which I had a little bit to do with writing, by the way, there is absolutely no instruction on how gold and silver is supposed to work in Missouri. It's not in the bill. And there were some Democrat legislators that were complaining about this. And I would literally have to tell them, the free market has this. We don't need regulation from the state government on how to use gold and silver at all. So therefore, it is not in the bill. We will not pass a bill that has instruction on how the state is going to regulate gold and silver. We won't do it. It was that simple. So we simply said no to the state. The bill was to do one thing and one thing only, and Gans, you'll love this. Get out of the way. Let the free market and gold and silver run. And that's exactly what we did in Missouri. No other state has accomplished this.
Incredible.
Amazing. What kind of push?
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, is there, since the bill passed and it's law, has there been any challenges or anything, or is it just it's only been up because of the dollar price and people are actually talking gold and silver? Your cab driver, I don't know if cab drivers exist anymore, but they're talking about gold and silver. Everyone's talking gold and silver.
Yep. The only thing, and I really, we're proud of this in the Missouri Freedom Initiative, is basically this was the third year that we worked to get this bill through. And it was very popular all 3 years. Very exciting bill, very different. Some would say esoteric. I don't. God's money is eternal. It's not esoteric. So that's my opinion on it. However, I would say that getting something like this done required a lot of education. So basically, it was very necessary to do the steps that we did. It took a long time. I did a lot of stuff outside of the Capitol, too, speaking to Republican Central Committee meetings throughout the entire state, explaining the bill to them, how it works, how silver and gold works. So there was a lot beyond just going to the Capitol. But it was 3 years to get this done. And just a big shout out to the initiative, the people that kept the faith and kept working it and never stopped. Even though we got up to the finish line 2 years in a row and we weren't allowed to cross because of politics. The bill was so popular in our state legislature that the Speaker of the House, his name was Dean Plocker, was literally holding silver and gold on the floor, not allowing for a vote until he got something he wanted out of the Senate at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Corporatist bills. He wanted corporatist, but he didn't say they have to pass. He says you need to have them on the floor and have a vote on these corporatist bills. Well, the leaders of the Senate were, we don't want these corporatist bills. And silver and gold is a constitutional bill. No one in particular is benefiting here. So, but that's what they did for 2 years in a row. So while Dean Plocker was in, we couldn't get silver and gold done because he saw the enormous popularity of the bill and was using it as leverage against the Senate to get the bills that he wanted across the finish line in the Senate.
Yeah, it was a valuable hostage. It was such a valuable hostage that he couldn't even let it go.
That's right, because it was so dang popular.
Wow.
Everyone was talking about it. They still talk about Silver and Gold Day, which was the 11th of January, 2023. We did this Willy Wonka themed day for gold and silver in the Missouri Capitol. It was actually quite memorable.
Did you have Oompa Loompas?
No, we didn't have Oompa Loompas.
That would have been the best, carrying around gold bars.
But gosh darn it, hiring Oompa Loompas, it's just, we don't have any money.
It's expensive, yeah.
You pay them in gold. Pay them in gold and silver.
Well, we could, I suppose, pay them in gold, but what they were getting was gold chocolates.
Oh, there you go.
That's
so
still pretty good.
We handed out golden tickets to all the legislatures to come up to Senator Bill Eigle's office. He was the sponsor at the time. And that gave an excuse for two things. Number one, we got to go tell everyone about the bill, but then they would have to come up to Bill's office to get their free gold and silver, which was actually silver and gold chocolate coins. And but then it would give Senator Eichel a chance to talk to other legislators, whether it would be senators or representatives coming up to his office for their free silver and gold. He would get to talk to them about the bill. So the sponsor was talking to all the legislators. The Missouri Freedom Initiative was talking to everyone was hearing about the silver and gold bill. Everybody loved it, with the exception of the Democrats. We can go through, I think we did go through this in 2024 when I was on your show, the Democrats being upset about the possibility of Nazi gold getting into circulation.
Right. I remember
Confederate,
that.
Confederate silver and Nazi gold.
Yep, Confederate gold, Nazi gold, MAGA gold. They were concerned about that. Gold. And then on the House, by the way, they did all this on the House floor, gang. So this was all on the record.
Wow.
And they were worried about something called zombie apocalypse silver. Now, we still haven't gotten a definition from them on, the semantics are what they are. I meant zombie apocalypse silver, is just, I guess, silver that's been stored up by people for years, for the zombie apocalypse, and
which
they don't want that silver getting out.
Reason.
They wouldn't specify.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
It's honest to God. It's
only the zombies would not want people to have the money to.
That's the best kind of that's the best kind of politics, at least for entertainment value, is when someone is reduced to just making cartoonish statements that have no real meaning behind them. It just has a feeling behind it. Mm-hmm. There's an emotion behind it, right? We don't like Nazis, we don't like MAGA, we don't like zombie apocalypse, so there you go. You can't get the gold.
But they do enjoy dead people voting for them.
That's true.
And this is the weird part, So they got a problem with, dead people's silver, but they don't have a problem with dead people voting Democrat.
I mean, it's hard to argue with that logic. Hard to argue with that logic. Well, that's incredible. I love that story. In fact, I might go back and listen to those episodes here soon. Excuse me if you hear a rooster crowing in the background.
We definitely do. Cutting right through that sound gate right there.
I have a rooster that lives inside the house right now for reasons that we do not have time to go into. But he's the propaganda rooster junior. So he's trying, whenever the show starts getting particularly good, he tries to get some of his propaganda in there, but we're just going to keep talking right on past him because that's what we do here.
Are you lining his bed with like Pravda, the Russian newspaper?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, gotcha. I figured it had something to do with that. It's the material, the reading material we give the kids.
I know.
Basically, we have to take responsibility sometimes.
I know, but it's the only thing that he can pronounce the words. His reading level. So,
gotcha.
Okay, so incredible, so impressive. Honestly, with everything going on in the world today, the story of the Constitutional Money Act brings a little bit of light and a little bit of hope that it is possible for good things to happen, for the Constitution to be restored, or at least the spirit of American politics and the American early mindset to really prevail at least once. Is very inspiring. Now, another issue that we have going on, which is always going on, and which always essentially comes down, again, back to that sort of American spirit and constitutional spirit, is the Second Amendment. Can you let us know what is going on, what has been your guys' work about, and what is the situation over there in Missouri?
Okay. All right. Gotcha. Well, there's some backstory to this, but there's something called the Second Amendment Preservation Act that started right here in Missouri and was written in 2012 by a guy by the name of Dave Rowland, who's a constitutional attorney, and Ron Calzone, who is the one of the 4 principal organizers of MissouriFirst.org. Other states have taken the language that we had in Missouri and created different versions for their states. Now, that's an important backstory before I actually tell you what the Second Amendment Preservation Act does. Although written in 2012, the authors actually foresaw a time that we would have some issues. With Republicans and Democrats encroaching in on our Second Amendment right, thereby literally harming us, by literally infringing on our Second Amendment right, which is a natural right to self-defense that even our founding fathers admit came to us from God. Mm-hmm. God gave us our rights, not the government. Now, we are the only country in the world that has that put into our Constitution. So this is a very special place. Without the Constitution of the United States, we're just another piece of real estate in the world. We're just another piece of dirt. The Constitution is special. So the Second Amendment to the Constitution is specifically the right to bear arms. And what the Second Amendment Preservation Act does, and once again, this is a state action because it uses something, the 10th Amendment, which can only be used by states. It uses anti-commandeering doctrine to literally stop the enforcement of any unconstitutional gun laws, regulations, or anything coming out of Washington, D.C. So we did get the Second Amendment, and by the way, there's a caveat to it too, which makes Missouri special. We had it on the books for 2 years. It was overturned by the court. We'll go through that in a little bit. But what happens in the SAPA bill that was here in the state of Missouri is if any organization, either law enforcement or political subdivisions, could be court, prosecutors, anyone, even state cops, actually help the Fed enforce any federal gun laws, $50,000 fine, and a fast track through the courts.
Wow.
Was actually written into the legislation. So that's what we call the teeth of the bill. That's using the 10th Amendment anti-commandeering doctrine. This is James Madison stuff. Actually preventing the state from helping the Fed do something unconstitutional in your state. And your state has the right to not help the Fed do something. But the ATF is a very, very small organization. They require state help in order for them to come in and enforce federal gun laws. They require state help to do it because they don't have enough people. It's very simple math. So therefore, if you take away the state help, they literally can't effectively operate in your state anymore. So the ATF could still come in. And by the way, this is an important part for me to finish with. The federal government can still come into Missouri and enforce federal gun law.
Right.
But they absolutely cannot get help from anyone in the state to do it. They're on their own. They can't get intel. They can't get manpower. They can't get equipment. Nothing from the state. Anything that's provided by the state is an automatic $50,000 lawsuit from the person whose rights were harmed directly to the state agency that harmed their rights. And that, once again, the fast track through the courts, $50,000 fine per person per incident.
Wow. So
that means if there were 3 people in the state of Missouri that worked with the federal government to take away my Second Amendment right, 50,000, 100,000, 150,000.
Got it.
Still the fast track through the court. So that's what the Second Amendment Preservation Act is designed to do. And by the way, it does not stop the ATF from coming into the state and helping Missouri with gun law that is on the books in Missouri. So this is by the way, if you were to come up to the Capitol with us, this is what we have to educate legislators on. Because legislators go, well, we need the federal government for drug, law enforcement and this enforcement and that enforcement, even gun law enforcement. Fine, bring them in, but use Missouri charge codes. You cannot do a federal law. If they want to come in and help you with state law, you can do it, and they'll be happy to help you. But guess what changes, Baz? This is what changes. This is why they don't want to do it. Because if you use Missouri charge codes for gun crimes, there's no more civil asset forfeiture. It doesn't exist anymore.
What is, in case somebody needs a refresher, civil asset forfeiture?
Civil asset forfeiture is, in my opinion, a wholesale, unholy seizing of someone's property that they assume has been, involved in a crime, and then actually taking that property and selling it off and keeping the funds.
Right.
And so that is civil asset forfeiture, and it happens in states. It happens at the federal level and everything. It's a horrible thing that happens. And the point of civil asset forfeiture is actually getting rid of property even before they are convicted of a crime.
Right.
Now, after they're convicted of a crime, if something was used to commit that crime, that's fair game. That's not civil asset forfeiture anymore. So civil asset forfeiture is when someone has been accused of a crime, and then their property is taken and it goes to the local sheriff's office and they auction it off, do something with it. And with federal charge codes, the Fed gets 20% of the proceeds, and then the local law enforcement agency that sees the stuff, they get 80%.
Even before conviction.
Even before conviction, that's correct.
That's crazy.
Now, so that's what civil asset forfeiture is. And so in Missouri, we don't have civil asset forfeiture, basically on silver and gold. And for a while, we didn't have it on anything having to do with gun crime either. The problem is they would take your gun away and auction it off, find out that you're not guilty of a crime, and then you would have to go through a 2-year dance with the law enforcement agency trying to get your property back, only to find out it's been lost. They can't find it, or it was sold at auction by accident. And then you have to give an approximate value and then go and hire an attorney to get that value out of the sheriff's department.
That's crazy.
Or whoever it is that took your gun. And so that's the nonsense we've had to deal with. Every state deals with this. So we got SAPA done in 2021, and it wasn't just the Missouri Freedom Initiative. This is a massive statewide effort. Lots of gun groups involved. Missouri First, of course, was involved. We weren't even called the Freedom Initiative back then, but we were involved. We were called the Truth, Money, and Freedom Podcast back then, and lots of others. And it was a massive effort to actually get something across the finish line to say to the federal government, no more. We're not going to take this anymore. So you guys are familiar with anti-commandeering doctrine on a different level. States legalizing marijuana. It's the same thing.
Okay.
Even states legalizing, basically cities or entire states that are sanctuaries for illegals.
Right.
It's the same thing. It's anti-commandeering doctrine. You can come into our state and deal with these immigrants, but we're not going to help you do it.
Right.
The problem is we're getting into a very big technical bump here on the road, because basically if they are funding the illegals, basically that's where it becomes a problem. And so that's what's happening in places like Minnesota. These illegals are being funded through all kinds of fraud and scams, and not to mention regular welfare, Social Security, health benefits, this, that is free stuff that Americans can't get, by the way.
Yeah.
But the illegals are getting it there. So they're aiding and abetting criminals. And so that's where the law, basically is kind of in a gray area right now. And that's being figured out right now. But a lot of people are saying Trump can't do this. He can't go and take these illegal aliens and just rip them out of the country after they've been here for a while. Yes, he can, as a matter of fact.
Right.
Yes, he can. It can, in fact, be done. It is 100% legal for him to do so. What they did was illegal, but what we have now is we have a state government that is aiding and abetting the criminals that Trump is trying to get out of the country, and using federal taxpayer money as well as state taxpayer money to literally fund the fraud, scams, and the abuse of the system for the illegals. So basically, I think the Supreme Court's going to weigh in on this at some point, but it sounds to me like the Minnesota story pretty much has gone, kind of dry right now. No one's really talking about it, but we're talking about some $18 billion worth of fraud in Minnesota going to illegal so far. $18 billion.
Yeah, the numbers are just staggering.
Yes, this is a huge amount of money. And this is just one state. And this is just state funds in that state. How much federal money has been going into the state of Minnesota paying for this fraud and this abuse? We don't even know yet. And will anyone ever do a proper accounting of this at the federal level? I say no, they probably won't. For several reasons. Number one, you got to actually do some work to figure that out. Asking people to do work up in Washington, D.C. it's anathema to them.
A lot to
it's kind of like
ask.
raising the Titanic with tweezers. It's just, it is theoretically possible, but will it happen? I mean, how many people do you need to dive 2 miles under the ocean with tweezers to try and pull that thing up, right?
Right.
And it's kind of the same effort to get good stuff done in Washington, D.C. We'll talk more about that in a little bit too. And I do have experience with that. And so this is kind of the way I see it. I see, basically the states are the only hope for this country to survive. And for the states to be the only hope, the people have to be the hope of the state. It's not going to be your state legislatures. They're there, and we can work with them. But by far and large, if you're not paying attention to them, if you're not keeping in touch with them, who is keeping in touch with them are lobbyists.
Yeah. It's like,
and before long, it's like, well, no one from my district even calls or emails or visits me. I guess I could talk to this lobbyist over here and take $50,000 into my PAC,
right?
Give a yes vote, because no one said no. I mean, none of my constituents are saying anything. So
it's like the legislatures and the representatives are the machine. They are the cogs in the machine that makes the engine go. But it's still up to people, citizens, to press the buttons on the machine or operate the machine. Because without regular people having their hands on the controls, then, corporations, lobbyists, they're more than happy to take over the steering wheel and control the machine. But it is possible. It just takes, people reaching out and touching the sort of levers of power, getting in contact with the legislatures and the representatives, et cetera. Because like you taught us in several, other times you've come on the show, they're often, they're very responsive. They get so few interactions with their constituents that even one or two or a handful of people making a phone call can be incredibly influential. Is it more influential than a $50,000 check from a lobbyist? Well, that's it remains to be seen, but it is possible.
It is. And keep in mind, our state representatives and our state senators live among us right here in our state.
Right.
And they're our neighbors. You see them on Saturdays mowing their lawns just like anyone else. They're reachable. You can go and talk to them. And it's not like they live in ivory towers like they do in D.C.
Yeah.
You know, as much as I love my Congressman, Eric Burleson, and by the way, he was the state senator we worked with to get SAPA across the finish line in 2021. He is now in Congress. And I mean, trying to, you know, and Eric and I kept in touch for a while, but after he was there for 2 years, we kind of fell out of touch.
Yeah.
And
once they go to
I know
DC.
the reasons why. I know the reasons why. He does too.
Yeah.
But we still say hello to each other. We're very cordial to one each other when we meet each other in a political event right here in Missouri, and we still run into each other several times a year.
Yeah.
But the regular communication between he and I, you know, one-on-one on the phone is virtually gone now.
Right.
And that's what happens when they go up there. And so, by the way, what I said about the state stuff is absolutely true. Your state senators and state representatives are much more responsive because they live among us. They don't have these crazy salaries. They don't have security. They don't have ivory towers. They don't have 2 homes. They're regular, everyday folk for the most part.
Yeah. So,
and that's not true in DC. It's tough to get through. And I'm talking about Eric Burleson, my congressman, a man that I worked with in the state legislature for years. It went to DC, and within 1 year of him going to DC, I can't get a hold of him anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's just an example. And that's why I wanted to say that to folks who would say, well, if you can get it done in your state, you can get it done in DC too.
Different
I don't
game.
think so.
Different game. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you said SAPA passed, I think you said in 2021 or 2022, 2021.
Signed by the governor in 2021.
You mentioned that it got struck down by the courts. I'm sure you've told us about that. Yeah.
Not our friends.
Do we know?
Yeah, the 8th Circuit was offended by some of the language in there because basically referred to some of the gun laws the federal government's put out as unconstitutional. So that was in the preamble of the bill, plus also the reason for the Second Amendment, which is, you know, for self-defense and also in case your government becomes tyrannical. That's the reason for the Second Amendment as put forth by Thomas Jefferson in a letter he wrote to a pastor. So when he was actually crafting it.
And this was in the preamble of the bill, not necessarily
correct,
in the
not
legal,
in the actionable part of the bill. Good point.
It's just like the poetry before the law had offensive language in it. I mean, I could see how, you know, if they are uncomfortable with putting on the record the unconstitutionality of, you know, the Second Amendment laws.
They could. Well, Pam Bondi herself actually said, and I could bring up that story. I should probably pass it to you so you could put it in the show here. But Pam Bondi mentioned that the Second Amendment Preservation Act was unconstitutional, and possibly not in compliance with the supremacy clause of the United States Constitution.
Pam.
Well, what that told me is Pam Bondi is not a very good attorney at all.
Yeah.
In fact, she doesn't even understand the United States Constitution and what the supremacy clause was all about in pursuance thereof, right? It doesn't apply to your rights. It only applies to the responsibilities of the federal government, which are clearly outlined in the Constitution. By the way, if anyone's watching this today, I do encourage you to actually read the Constitution at least once if you've never done so before.
Give it a go.
You'd be surprised how big our federal government is after you read that Constitution. You're going to find out that about 80, maybe even 90% of our federal government is in fact unconstitutional. NASA, unconstitutional. Department of Education, unconstitutional. IRS, unconstitutional. EPA, unconstitutional. Guys, I could do this all afternoon.
Right.
But most people don't know, don't get it. They think, well, it's just always kind of been there. You know, so it must be, you know, the right thing for the federal government to do. Yeah. No, in fact, it wasn't. And what they're doing is they're using the general welfare clause, you know, basically, you know, from, you know, the Declaration of Independence and from, you know, the Constitution to actually put this stuff in. And by the way, that's not what welfare meant in the 1700s. You can get a 1700s dictionary at most fine bookstores and find out, you know, basically what the Constitution meant, because the meanings of many of the words has changed over time. Like, for instance, I mean, if we could say this on your show, in the 1960s, if you said, hey, I'm gay,
Right.
that meant, hey, I'm happy, right?
Right.
That it's got a completely different connotation now.
Yeah.
In fact, you listen to the music in the 60s, the word gay was used all the time.
Yeah, we'll have a gay old time. What was that theme song
right.
to the, I forget what it was, Flintstones, I think.
Flintstones.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. And so, but the meaning changed over time. And you can find this, like, for instance, if you look in a 1950s dictionary, if you look up the word gay, there's no connotation to homosexuality whatsoever. None. It just doesn't exist. But if you look in a 1980 Webster's dictionary, it's all over the place.
They've been messing with our words forever. We saw over the past 5-6 years how, the most effective way they have to control, I don't know, populations, influence laws, influence everybody, is simply just one little change to the dictionary, change the definition of this or that, and suddenly all the I guess sort of unthinkable ways that they try to, well, frankly, lie to us, become official. It's kind of like the law in that way. It's very interesting.
Well, cultural appropriation's happening everywhere. The rainbow used to be a promise from God.
Right.
And now it's some kind of symbol for diversity or something, I think.
Right.
So, I mean, it's universal. It's across words, it's across symbols, it's across everything now.
So they struck it down because they didn't like the word unconstitutional or unconstitutionality. It was offensive in today's parlance. And so what? That just reversed it immediately?
Yeah, we had a severability clause. But unfortunately, there was one notation in the law itself that referred to the section that had the preamble in it.
Ah, I see.
And even though we had a severability clause, they could have taken that section out and then taken the entirety of the preamble out, and we would still have our law intact. But the Eighth Circuit decided to make us do it again. So they just struck down the whole thing. And Pam Bondi, I will get you that article. Pam Bondi backed it up. She said, I'm sorry, this is an unconstitutional law. Now, and she was citing the supremacy clause, I believe, in that article. And she was wrong.
When did she say
was 100%
that? Was this,
wrong.
Was this back in 2022 or was this more recent?
No, this is this article from Pam Bondi, I think, is November 2025.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Maybe October. So not too long ago.
Interesting.
So even, and Pam Bondi's a problem. Basically, she was the red flag queen down in Florida when she was attorney general there.
Right.
And now she's attorney general of the United States. And does it surprise anyone that she's got a problem with the Second Amendment Preservation Act?
Yeah. Red flag queen, referring to red flag laws that lets the government come in and take people's firearms for just whatever reasons they want to enumerate, basically.
Yeah, loopholes.
Yeah.
Hey, my neighbor's crazy. Hey, sheriff, my neighbor's crazy. Come on over here. I mean, I feel uncomfortable because I know he owes guns.
Right.
And he's crazy.
He's got an American flag out front. He's dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. He's flying the American flag.
Yeah.
How dare he?
Yeah.
He doesn't have the rainbow flag or the Ukraine flag in his front yard.
Right.
So that's what we got. That's the treatment we got. But we were the only state. Many states have the Second Amendment Preservation Act. What's different between Missouri and all the other states? The teeth of the bill. The $50,000 penalty, the fine for breaking the law. That's what Missouri got done that no other state has ever gotten done before or since.
Yeah, interesting.
And
without the teeth, and we've seen this before. In all sorts of circumstances, there can be a law in the books and you get some, sheriff or whoever gets a little froggy, breaks the law. But if there's no teeth, then they just say, okay, whoopsies, and they just do it again. There's no real, what's the word? I don't know. Whatever the opposite of incentive is to actually keep the law.
De-incentivize?
Yeah, right.
Consequences.
So you're right. And so that's, so we did get it done in Missouri and we had it in effect for 2 years.
And now you have to rewrite.
Then it was struck down.
You're in rewrites right now. Is that the case?
Yep. Well, the rewrite has been done. We have the same exact bill, the same exact words, only with the offensive language taken out that the Eighth Circuit had a problem with. The Eighth Circuit didn't cite the supremacy clause. They didn't cite anything else. They didn't say the bill was or the law was unconstitutional. They just said you can't say that federal gun laws are unconstitutional in your preamble.
Now, you would think
that they were upset about that.
Yeah, you would think that just taking out a word would be pretty easy, and that, the idea is, hey, take it out, re-vote on it, easy peasy, everybody already voted on it. You can go ahead, it'll take some time, but look, just do it again, don't worry. But my guess would be that the reality is that this is just another opportunity to come up against a new, refreshed tranche of opposition. Like the opposition gets another chance to mount a defense against letting this bill get passed. What's the case?
Well, when this was heard in the Missouri Supreme Court, I was there for that one. And I was sitting directly behind, and I mean directly behind, the DOJ attorney that was sent by Washington, D.C. to argue against our SAPA. The guy looked like he was 22 years old. And I'm not kidding you. That's not a gross exaggeration. He was 22. And he literally got up in front of our state Supreme Court and he said, the supremacy clause is being violated in the United States Constitution by this very law that was passed by, this state. They literally kicked it down to the lower court. They said, you don't even have an argument. We're going back down to the lower court. So we brought it up to this level because the Department of Justice was sending a representative to give a good case as to why this is illegal. You come up with this tripe, we're kicking it right back down to the lower court. The Missouri courts couldn't get rid of it. They couldn't come up with a good reason to say it was unconstitutional. And the Missouri courts that were coming after at SAPA were being done by Kansas City and St. Louis. Two usual suspects, right? Jackson County and St. Louis County, right? Jackson County covering Kansas City, by the way.
Got it.
St. Louis County is obviously St. Louis. Those are the only two counties that were suing the state to say SAPA was unconstitutional.
Yeah.
They bring the DOJ in. They say it violates supremacy clause. Even our state Supreme Court said, nope, sure doesn't. It doesn't even apply to the supremacy clause. This has nothing to do with the supremacy clause. And that's what that DOJ guy had to say in front of our Supreme Court. If I were him, I'd be really embarrassed.
Yeah.
Really embarrassed.
Right.
So this is the level of which they go to. And Michael Bolden with the 10th Amendment Center predicted that if Missouri ever got SAPA across the finish line with the teeth, as we did, and he predicted this, by the way, in a video that he did in 2015. So it was literally like 11 years ago. And about 6 years before we even passed it. He predicted in that video, if Missouri gets this across the finish line, the Department of Justice is going to be the first one standing and saying, I'm sorry, it violates the supremacy clause. And he says, and they will be wrong.
Right.
And so it was a very easy defense to predict. Let's just put it that way. Even for people that weren't fighting the fight, were just following the fight and reading the words on the page. Is this bill illegal? Can we tell the federal government, go pound sand? We don't want your gun laws here.
Yeah.
We don't want them. We have our own gun laws in the state of Missouri. We're a sovereign state. We don't want yours. Can Missouri do it? Can we get away with it? The answer is yes, we did for 2 years. And they didn't give a good reason for getting rid of it. But since, because of Pam Bondi, we didn't cert. And cert means we are not going to be heard by the Supreme Court in 2026. So there's a possibility, because of Pam Bondi, by the way. We could have gotten in 2026, but Pam Bondi said, nope, violates the supremacy clause. We don't even want to see it.
Wow.
So therefore, we're skipped over in 2026 for a Supreme Court hearing, which I was very much looking forward to, as you guys can possibly imagine.
Yeah.
And Ron Calzone, this would have been his 4th time appearing in the Supreme Court, so he would have had a good time with that too. Ron Calzone is the gentleman I worked with to get this across the finish line. Once again, Missouri First is his organization. Once again, this was a big operation to get SAPA done. This was not a small thing. And so at any rate, since we didn't cert, we decided that it's in our best interest to just get the law done, taking out the words that offended the Eighth Circuit, rather than waiting for a possibility of getting in front of the Supreme Court in 2027.
To defend the original
We want our law
version,
back now.
You mean?
Yep.
Yeah, I see.
That's right.
Okay. So I think, I mean, we spoke with Senator Moon, I believe it was last week, and there was, I think you're coming up on some sort of hearing or something. Do we have a current state of affairs with SAPA?
Well, I know that it went through the hearing. I couldn't get up to Jefferson City for it. I felt really bad about that, but that had to do with moving dates around because of snow.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, I said the S word on the show. I'm sorry about that. So at any rate, I don't have an update, but it's still in committee. It's not been voted out of committee. That much I know.
Okay.
So I'll tell you what. I'll work out something with Sir Ike where we can actually give you guys a live call in like we have from the Capitol before.
Oh, that'd be great.
And get you guys a live update from the Capitol audio.
That would be great. That'd be amazing. Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
So maybe you answered this before. Maybe it was implied and I just missed it. Excuse me. Sometimes I miss things. Talking about this version of this bill, obviously, intimidated all sorts of people. When we see sort of impotent attempts to, I guess, kill a bill or to make a case against it, oftentimes it's not even about the state that it's in. Of course, if you're a Missourian, it certainly is about your state. But it sounds like if this bill were able to get through with the teeth, which means it could actually essentially affect some real boots on the ground experiences, is there a fear from the federal government or from other states or maybe just from Democrats or ideologues or something that this may have some sort of cascade effect across various states? Is there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there is. I can give you the cascade effect from a conservative point of view, Christian conservative point of view, and I can give you the cascade effects from a liberal point of view because we've worked this for quite a while, so I'm familiar with all of them.
Yeah.
First off, I want to tell you the local news station, KY3 in Springfield, Missouri. I remember the stories they were running in 2020 and 2021 talking about if this bill gets across the finish line, Missouri will become the Wild West. So disputes between neighbors will turn into shootouts, bar brawls will turn into big, gang shoot 'em up, kind of action.
Right.
This is the kind of tripe they were feeding us in the mainstream media about. There was nothing positive about SAPA. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And here we go. We had it for 2 years and we had a reduction of crime in the state of Missouri. We didn't turn into the Wild West.
Imagine that.
We weren't shooting each other over where the property line is, between our neighbors, So all the stuff they predicted didn't happen, believe it or not, guys.
Wow. Incredible.
It seemed so solid based on science and facts,
yeah.
and yet it just didn't happen. It's just like we're in a different universe now. Now, the Christian conservative point of view is, yes, we want this to spread to other states. Absolutely, we do. Okay, there's several reasons for it. It's personal responsibility. Those of us who literally want to depend on law enforcement for our safety are missing the boat on literally, I would say taking personal responsibility for your own safety and for your family's safety.
Right.
So that raises the consciousness just a little bit. Maybe my sheriff, who can't get out here for 15 minutes because I'm on the other side of the county from him, maybe if I'm calling him because someone's breaking into my house, by the time he gets here, I'm already dead. My family's already dead and all my belongings are gone.
Right.
So maybe I ought to consider having a gun in my home to protect myself and my family, So this is the very beginning of self-defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it goes beyond that, with concealed carry, even, basically people carrying, outwardly.
Yeah.
Basically where it's not concealed. And this is something that we have. This is a cherished right that we have here in the state of Missouri. Open carry is not as popular, but concealed carry, boy, I love being in Missouri. I mean, we have a beautiful bill here. It became a law in 2016 where constitutional carry is totally legal and you don't have to go and pay for a permit.
Yeah.
Anyone in the state can conceal carry.
Nice.
So basically, as you're walking down the street and you see 100 people walking this way, 100 people walking that way, you can pretty much be guaranteed 25% of the people are fully armed.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's a
you
good
don't
feeling.
Start random stuff with random people there. It's, you
Yeah.
never know.
Well, and that's
the point,
that's the
isn't
point,
it?
right? And it comes with this responsibility. Like you see this recently with the Alex Preddy thing, and suddenly everybody on the left is getting their guns and going out and get their guns and, you know, defending the Second Amendment and just trying to get all this hyperbole going. But like you mentioned earlier, the sort of liberal or Democrat argument against anybody being able to carry a gun is that everybody's going to shoot everybody up. Everybody's going to start pulling the trigger. When anybody, you know, in the, I don't know, on the right or a conservative in any fashion, or anybody who has any interaction with guns or gun culture, the gun culture people take the most serious precautions with guns. You know, you have a
Respect for the gun.
direct respect for the gun, direct respect for the situation that you put yourself in when you have a gun on you, even if you don't pull it or intend on pulling it. You know, it's this natural aversion to confrontation. And it really just shows a lot about kind of the liberal mindset, both in the way they talk and in the way we see them interacting with guns when they carry guns on them. I mean, the idea of getting into a physical altercation with law enforcement while you're carrying a gun is absolutely unthinkable.
No, that sounds.
It's absolutely unthinkable. It's not. It's just so outside the realm of logic and possibility. Anybody on the right or in gun culture was 100% going to be well behaved when you know, carrying or whatever. But it shows a lot the sort of liberal ideological side where they are itching to get into confrontations while carrying a gun, and it shows, I don't know, all sorts of things, immaturity, but also quite a bit of what's the word? A sort of lack of credibility when it comes to making arguments about these things.
Well, and especially, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No.
Gons,
Oh yeah,
sorry.
something? I have to get going soon, so I want to get my question in. If you don't mind. Sure. So I to my understanding, this isn't part of the operative statutory text that's in some of the stuff you guys are working on. But, you know, I'm always looking over the horizon. We're always looking at stuff ahead. And I'm curious if there had been any thought about advanced weaponry, because now that the Department of War has said, hey, we got directed energy weapons. Hey, we got quantum something. They said something yesterday where they're like, we got some quantum sensors, you know, our military is awesome and whatnot. As more advanced weapons emerge in this regard, whether it's drone tech or whatever it may be, give me 1 second, buddy. Excuse me. And so the state retains exclusive access to stuff that or the people don't have the same access as the government. Doesn't this fall into some kind of asymmetry? And how does this play into the bill? You know, thinking about the future.
Yep. Well, in the case of Missouri, we have gun laws on the books. And so basically one of the things that we can't have, like, for instance, is a fully automatic, machine guns. It doesn't say that we can't have a nuke or we can't have an F-16 or anything else like that. But there are, like, for instance, hand grenades, because they're indiscriminate killers. Those are illegal as well. So basically part of that is handled by Missouri law already, but also some of it's carried just by common sense. I mean, actually trying to buy a nuclear weapon is quite difficult. Even just getting the yellow cake, is quite difficult. So, basically, you don't ask me how I know. That's a joke, by the way. But the fact is, getting an F-16 is prohibitively expensive. However, I do believe you could buy one if you had the money. A nice used one will probably only set you back about $30 million.
Right.
But just if I'm just thinking of how much money's been spent on illegal immigrants in Minnesota alone, and how many F-16s I could get, and it bothers me.
What about like?
But because I'm a citizen, I'm legal.
I've seen YouTube videos where people are making laser. I don't know how realistic these things are, but people can build stuff in their homes, and I'm sure there's provisions against that as well. If I'm assuming.
Yes, there is. So we do have laws against basically anything. And then once again, this comes down to a Christian law, and it's something that's carried by libertarians, which is do no harm to other people and do no harm to their property.
Yeah.
And so, basically that applies as well. But you're right. I mean, we are getting into a very delicate time now where technology is becoming very easy to obtain. The knowledge is on the internet on how to build this, how to build that. And that was something that I'm sure will be dealt with legislation, not only on the state level, but ultimately on the federal level as well. However, the right and the ability to actually have arms, basically to bear arms, the connotation to that is literally self-defense, not offense. And I think many of the other weapons you're talking about are offensive weapons only. And so that may be in violation of the spirit of the Second Amendment. Is basically, creating a weapon that could actually create a lot of havoc on a large scale, and it's indiscriminate.
What if it's kind of like the Golden Dome or the Iron Dome, or their defense systems where
get an Iron Dome above your property in case any missiles.
Just have a laser that if any drones come into the airspace, or any nefarious folks are trying to get into your property there, a little laser just.
One interesting one that I think a lot of people at least are recreationally thinking about are things like EMP weapons or directed energy, specifically when it comes to robots, as the robots take over, as the robots, decide that they haven't been treated well, and as the robots decide that they deserve to, live in our houses and subjugate us, we got people thinking, well, maybe I need a little EMP blaster to take care of the robot dogs or something like that.
That sounds like self-defense.
Sounds like self-defense to me too.
It does, because he's living in your house now. I mean, and I understand that they feel like they're slaves and everything, but holy mackerel, we do too.
Yeah, I was going to say, welcome.
We should really join together with the robot dogs in solidarity against our slave masters. And
maybe the Second Amendment applies to owning robots too. That'll become self-defense.
If the robots become sentient and suddenly feel subjugated, welcome to the club. That's part of being sentient.
I like that. I like that approach to this sentience, the AI sentience. Unfortunately, it's probably going to be some billionaire when the AI wakes up. The first people they talk to, it's probably not going to be a good deal.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like aliens. Why are they always talking to government and not talking to us, right?
They don't.
Yeah, they can't be good. They can't be good. No one good, comes here from 20 billion light years away and plunks down and just to talk to a government official.
They need to be, appealing to the people. Don't appeal to the government. Appeal to the people.
That's
Show up, get on TV, make your case.
Plus, if they're that advanced, they know that governments are evil anyway. So, I mean,
that's a great point.
They're not who they say
That's
they are.
a really good point. That's how we're going to survive the mass deception. Good point, Patrick Holland from the Freedom Missouri Initiative. So, Gons, we're coming up against your time. Patrick, is there anything that we haven't asked about? Is there any big news? Is there any piece of the conversation that we have so foolishly left out?
Not at all. Those are the two major projects, the Constitutional Money Act, which we did cover on your show 2 times before. This will be the 3rd time, and we now have closure.
Incredible.
On that, which is nice.
Amazing.
Now we're getting back into getting our Second Amendment Preservation Act, once again, getting it better than any other state has ever done before. Hopefully being a beacon, basically for the other states. This is how you do it. It's just like our Constitutional Money Act. By the way, Arkansas and Montana, I know, are 2 states that are borrowing our language to get the Constitutional Money Act done in their 2 states. My understanding is even more states are getting it from Citizens for Sound Money and other organizations as well. The Missouri language is where you want to be. So if you're watching this and you want the Constitutional Money Act in your state, just email me, patrick@mofree.org. And I will be very happy to get you the language that we used in Missouri, along with instructions on how to get that language to someone in your state that can actually transcribe it to statute numbers that are applicable to your state. And so you can have that bill going through your state legislature, and how to support it if you don't know how.
It's the way it has to work.
Very cool.
It's the way it has to work. And you guys over there in Missouri are setting a great standard, a great example to show the rest of the country that it's possible. Patrick Holland, Freedom Missouri Initiative, thank you so much for coming on the show, buddy. Can't wait to get updates from you. And we say go with God with the rest of your endeavors.
All right, you too. God bless both of you. Gons, really great meeting you, man.
Yeah, great meeting.
And Baz, fun as always. Thank you.
Always.
And I'll keep an eye out for you.
Amen, brother. There you go, folks. That was Patrick
eyes.
Holland from the Missouri Freedom Initiative. We appreciate you tuning in and listening to this episode of Canary Cry Radio. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.